Hi, it's raining. Well, it's not raining right now, but it's been raining for days and everything is canceled because of coronavirus. So we figured we'd take that time to make another car video in our backyard. This is one that people have been asking about for a long time. It is a 1976 Dodge Dart Lite, Spirit of 76 edition.
Actually, it says light on it.
What, you think I'm lying?
Apparently not.
So, first of all, a lot of people don't know that the Dodge Dart had a Sportback like this. It's not a Duster. It's sort of the same shape as a Duster, but it was the Dodge Dart Sport, I think is what they used to call it. And in the late 70s, Dodge and Plymouth sort of realized that maybe people wanted some mileage out of their cars, some economy cars, had to compete with Datsuns and Corollas and these things that are coming out. So they took their lightest cars, the Dart and the Duster, and they made them even lighter. And they put their littlest engine in, the Slant 6, and they put a 4-speed with an overdrive transmission in it. And they also put a bunch of aluminum parts on. They did an aluminum intake manifold and aluminum bumper brackets and aluminum structure for the deck lid and for the hood. A lot of people think they had a fiberglass or fully aluminum hood and deck lid from the factory, and they didn't. It was steel. It was just a lighter weight setup because all of the under bracing was not heavy steel.
Were these tires for fuel economy, Elana?
Yeah, these are some fuel economy tires right here.
Wow, ahead of the game.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, but like the bigger and stickier your tire is, the less gas it takes. Don't ever listen to me. Anyway, clearly this is no longer set up for fuel economy. Tom bought this car before me, back in the sad days, when his life was no good at all.
Yeah, let's call them the sad days.
Ah, hurtful. Anyway, Tom bought this car and he sold it to our friend Rod, who made a race car out of it. And Rod raced it for about 15 years. Did pretty well with it. He won some big trophies.
Yep.
And I think he ran 1020s up in Washington State with it.
Yep, used to go to LACR all the time. Los Angeles County Raceway out in Palmdale.
Yeah,
Gone
a lot
now.
of people know him. His nickname was Big Rod, and it wasn't because he was a little guy. So you can imagine that this was a pretty quick car. And when he got done with racing, he brought this car over to my backyard. In fact, I think I came home from work one day, and Rod was in the backyard putting the lettering on the window for me. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, well,
The glare is terrible.
I think you should have a race car. So anyway, Rod gave me this car. And you know what? We didn't talk about the Spirit of 76 part. That's very important.
It's America's birthday.
It's America's birthday. So 1976 was the bicentennial, 200 years of America. And there were quite a few different companies that took advantage of that for marketing reasons, and so this eagle is a factory thing. Very cool.
Yeah, it's actually eagle's head in the beginning of it. You see, that's the stripe is an eagle's head, red, white, and blue.
All right, so that's the history lesson of this done, and now it is a 360 small block, partial fill, which means basically that it's got like concrete in it. And
It's high-class concrete, Elana.
it's high-class concrete.
He had trouble splitting cylinders since we filled up part of the block with the hard block.
So it's not super streetable any longer. It's a 904 transmission with a low gear set.
Yep.
And I think it's 410s in the back.
It is currently 410s.
So nitrous setup. It's got a nitrous bottle on it. And
Big Rod liked to go fast.
Yeah. I got to race it, I think, 2 different races before our local racetrack closed, but it is on camera. If you look up last race at LACR, you can see this car in it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
I'm driving it, and I think I went out first round. Anyway, right now, we're not really racing this car. Don't have time. There are no racetracks nearby. All the excuses. Everybody always has excuses for not racing. Mostly, I'm not racing it because it needs to be towed to the track. And these days, who wants to tow a 10-second car to the track? I mean, it's got to run 8s and drive there on its own.
Oh,
right?
I'm sure this one runs 8s.
Yeah, you can't prove differly, so I'm going to say
it's like every car on the internet
car runs
8s.
Totally streetable. It's not a big deal.
Let me showcase how we would get to the track if we were going back to the track. This is a 1971 Dodge D700 Ramp Truck. It's the former Bobby Yowell Pro Stock hauler. Bobby Yowell was an independent pro stock racer back in the 70s, and he bought this truck new, and they built a custom ramp body for it to go pro stock racing. We have a couple really poorly made pictures of what it used to be like.
Well, I mean, they're not poorly made, they're just poorly printed.
Well,
so you can see the truck there, you can see that same sort of kink in the overhead. Somebody has obviously cut the top of this truck off. That seems to be the fate of all of the ramp trucks, that people thought maybe they'd get better fuel mileage with them if they cut those T-boxes off.
There's a front view. Oh, that's good.
It's windy. So check out the paint job that used to be on this thing. How cool is that? It's like a crazy mural.
The paint job sounds like a jet airplane of some kind.
Don't you guys love our videos? We're so professional.
This is high class, you know.
Hold on, look. That is the edge of the Dick Landy ramp truck, which we also own.
The market is cornered.
Yeah. And that's basically how we got this.
Well, I should add how we got this.
Yeah, why don't you tell the people?
Well, because when you get one ramp truck, people kind of know you as the ramp truck guy, and so they want to provide you with more. And David Freiberger found this on Craigslist, and he called Elana and said, "This is right up your alley." And Elana called me about it, and then I went and got it, of course.
Actually, I think I texted you, and I said, should we corner the market? And then the next thing I knew, you were sending me a video of you and all your drunk friends driving this thing around the block like multiple times while our neighbors were cheering.
When you have a running ramp truck, you have to drive it, so we did that.
All right, Tom.
The truck is terrible.
Tom, walk us through this ramp truck.
All right, D700 crew cab Dodge, 1971. Got the Dayton wheels, way ahead of their time. I hope we can still buy tires for that. I'm not sure.
If you know, let us know.
Let's see. We have this is not factory. This has been customized. Bobby Yowell had a much fancier paint job. Here's the power plant. It's a hybrid. It's a 440 block with a 440 intake manifold, but everything else is 413 Dodge truck. It has full air brakes. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it has a Holley 850, which is the kind of carburetor you want to have on a car hauler. It's kind of funny.
It's basically the opposite of setting up for fuel economy.
Well, somebody put all their old race car parts on this, so it's got a weird combination of things that it actually runs pretty well.
Who had it after Yowell? How much tracking down have you done?
I don't know. A guy named Joe. Well, I forgot your last name, but Joe had it, and that's who we got it from.
And he got it from somebody who was like maybe a small scale circle track racer.
Yeah, I think he was, because it's got a little memorial of somebody on there, late model NASCAR stuff. This truck is very distinctive with this little kick out here. This is like it's Bobby Yowell for sure. Yeah,
and a funny story, because I did in fact talk to Bobby Yowell on the phone. He was excited to hear we'd rescued his truck. And he was telling me that they used to have to take the hood off of their pro stock car to get it on here, and you can see how close even our small scoop on the Dart Lite is to the top of the box. And they just hadn't measured it properly when they built the truck, so they used to have to take the hood off, or they'd knock the scoop right off.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He also told me a pretty good story about the original paint job on the car and the truck. And first of all, if you look up Bobby Yowell, you might think he had like multiple different dusters, but I believe he only had one, and it was just painted different on the two different sides of the car. It was like purple on one side and green on the other. And then obviously the truck had all of this painting on it. And it was done by a very famous mural painter named Greg of Akron. And the story that Yowell told me is that basically Greg came down to the shop, closed himself in with the truck and the race car, and maybe, I don't know, a week later they opened the door, car was painted, truck was painted, there were a lot of empty wine bottles. They paid Greg and he went home.
It's a paint job that would be very hard to replicate in the modern age. And I don't know what it would cost, but it had to have been staggering back then and now. The interior's been changed quite a bit. I think it had bench seats originally. I'm gonna put all that back. If you've got bench seats for this, hit me up. Sort of 1971 Dodge truck dashboard.
How different is this truck from the Landy truck, Tom?
It's very similar. It's a few years newer, so they actually changed a few things. The dash is not quite as cool as Landy's truck, I think. They have the same transmission, basically the same engine, the same rear end. Really, it's the same truck. They got a little bit better as time went on. The 71s has a higher gross vehicle weight rating. You know, the usual stuff that happens in late models. There's a lot of little differences, I'm sure. I haven't got this one apart, so I don't know.
Yeah, and originally you were like, well, I'm just going to have it because it took us so long to find the other one, and this one just sort of fell into our laps. And then yesterday, you pulled it out, and you were like, I'm just going to change the fluids in it because we're going to park it again, and I want it to have coolant in it. And then you ended up changing the hinges, re-welding part of the hood, and fixing the latch, and changing the bumper.
Well, yeah, because the old hinge was welded to the hood and the inserts were broken out, so I replaced them. The hood, the problem was, I can look out my kitchen window and see this truck, and the hood was always wonky, and it bothered me. So now I made the hood so it fits good, and we could have it sitting there, not irritating me on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'll be the only one sitting there irritating you on a daily basis. Why don't you shut that fine shutting hood and maybe fire this thing up for the people?
Sounds solid, doesn't it?
Yeah, look at that. Closes nice.
Well, this will kill two birds with one stone because this is a cold start, and we had a request. And bearing in mind, I haven't done anything to this vehicle yet.
All right, so what did you just do for your cold start?
Pump the gas on the Holly 850. There you go. It's alive. It does run. You can drive it.
You want to show people the dash?
Makes a lot of racket. It's building air pressure right now. You can see the gauges. They've been somewhat tampered with. Vintage tachometer. It's a Spicer 5-speed with a 2-speed Rockwell rear end. It's got this thing, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I think it changes the sensitivity of the front brakes, maybe? It's an air brake thing. I'm not totally familiar with it. Air brake gauge. You know, typical Dodge truck of this era.
And there's no back seat.
And there's no back seat. It's missing. How did you get back there?
There's a door.
It's missing these gas tanks right here. It's missing that. On the other side, somebody took it off, and it's also a step to get in, so it's kind of a problem.
Oh, I guess I didn't need to roll the window down if you were going to open the door again.
Oh, I hadn't shut the door. I didn't realize you were in there.
Yeah, sneaky like that. Anyway, at some point we should probably drive it, but currently we're stuck in the yard. We can't get it out.
We can't get it out because I have to trim a tree to get this out easily. But we'll do a follow-up video where we drive this thing around the block, and maybe we'll fire up the Dart too. We'll do both. How's that?
And somebody build a racetrack nearby so that we can go there.
Yeah, or we'll have to move right next to one. All right, well, there you have it. This is how we're going to the track when we finally get back to the track.